Hi and welcome to another narration presented by yours truly, Cryptids Roost. Please be so kind as to throat punch the like button and smack the ass of the subscription button as well. And remember to tap the notification bell and then select all. That way you'll receive all notifications each time I upload a new video. Oh, and don't forget to share the video far and wide. This will all help with YouTube's algorithm and will help promote the channel more. If you enjoy listening to the following story, be sure to pop over to the author's Reddit profile and drop them a line, or even give them a glowing review. I'm sure they would appreciate it. The link to their Reddit profile will be below in the description. So grab your coffee, sit back and enjoy the show. And don't forget, where fear is, happiness is not. Can anyone help me? I'm on a bus that refuses to stop. I don't know where I am. Part 9. This fantastic series is written by Darkly Gathers, a wonderful author over on Reddit's nosleep subreddit. It's my fault. This is the thought that holds my mind in its iron grip for the next hour or so. I don't know how long exactly. I don't remember much of the immediate time after Rai is killed. I remember waiting though. Waiting for the illusion to fade, waiting for his death to be revealed as a trick. But it never was. There was no illusion, there was no trick. I'm useless. He is dead because of me. It's all my fault. I find myself sobbing into Leah's shoulder. She's been letting me cry for a while now, I think. But she started speaking to me in a calming voice, trying to ease my guilt. Yes, I don't think Ryan ever intended to return, you know. Please, don't blame yourself. Think about the way he spoke. He kept saying he would send us two home, but he never included himself. It wasn't your fault he died. You were both tricked. I watched it all. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. At some point, we pass a cross at the side of the road. Constructed simply with two metal poles, it stands alone in the sands. How are we going to do this? I ask through sobs. What chance do we have without him? We made it so far, we can do it. We can go a little further, I know it. Remember the way he spoke? We'll go beyond Axis Mundi, then home. Surely that's where we'll go when the route map ends. We'll go home. Ryan's words come back to me. I play them in my head. My plan is a simple one. Succeed where I have failed before. Get you to the end of the road and ensure that the bus takes the right path back home. The right path back home, I whisper aloud, as guilt courses cold through my blood. Time passes. The desert scrolls by, and I gather myself bitterly. I'd hold on to a hope that is keeping me going. I hope that I will still see my brother again, in some form at least. I know he is still out there. He is waiting for me. And this time, he won't need to head out alone on some terrible train of my trail. I will make it back. Once I have regained control of my senses, much of the remaining journey is spent glancing anxiously up to that bulb, dim and mockingly silent at the front of the bus by the remains of the ceiling. But it does not alight, and it does not buzz. Throughout the rest of City 3's rough and near formless wasteland, and across the miles and miles of sands beyond, the thing remains inactive, taunting us with its silence. This is the time that I could have spent with Rai. Peaceful, uninterrupted time. After a while, a silhouetted shapes begin to appear in the far distance, creeping up and over the horizon. They approach slowly but steadily as the bus speeds ever onwards down the road. We pass by another of those colossal wheels, like the one Ryan pointed out to me. There was no lights on this one, however. We pass many such curiosities. Near the road there lies what looks like the mechanical corpse of some great rhino. lightless and still and covered in dust and sand. We passed by a cluster of metal shacks, hastily piled together in the sands in the shadows of a rusted billboard, and in the distance, off to the side across the desert, I think I can make out another of those three vague lumbering behemoths, like the one I saw right after we first left the tunnel. It doesn't seem concerned with the bus, ambles slowly in another direction on its own personal path. The dark shapes that surround the road ahead draw ever closer, and they begin to strike up towards the sky. They are the closest things we've seen to a real civilization of any kind since arriving in this twisted place. "This is it," Leah says in a hushed voice. "The Axis Mundi." A faded sign on the side of a ruined tower confirms this. We pass it by. "Rye said the bus would stop, Leah," I say to her as I look around. At this greatest change in our surroundings since the ocean of oil. He said it would stop for a while in the Axis Mundi and we'd be able to depart to walk around. "What happens if we do?" she asks. "I don't know, but he said that the bus might leave without us if we don't get back in time." To this she said nothing. The broken, scorched skeletons of curious buildings whiz by. It's near impossible to tell what they might once have been at first, but as we drive on and on, the buildings start to present themselves in better shapes. They are laid out like a labyrinth of sorts, all interconnected with long corridors and tunnelled bridges, like a neural network, a great complex, all in a dark and once shiny metal. Whoa! The bus approaches an enormous and intricate metal tree. The thing is two-trunked, and each of these trunks begins on either side of the road. They join up in an arch, then billow upwards, reaching out in all directions with a series of colossal and ancient branches, constructed of metal plates and piping, gears beyond count, and tipped with carved black metal leaves. It has further the appearance of looking slightly wet, and as we get closer I realise that this tree is steadily leaking oil in a slow and subtle flow. Little flashing lights dance up its sides. It's incredible. And what happens next is, too. The buzzer at the front of the bus suddenly sounds long and loud. The bulb flashes bright in that sickeningly familiar orange, and the speaker warbles its incomprehensible nonsense. Goosebumps race across my arms and neck at once, and Leah and I immediately tensed, waiting, watching, but nothing approaches. Instead, the bus does just as Rye said it would. For the first time on its long and nightmarish journey, it starts to slow, with a clear intent to actually stop. The vehicle wheezes as the driver, of his own accord, brings it down through the gears. The engine chutters and growls, and the bus pulls steadily in at the side of the road. My heart pounds, and with, for now, a final hiss, the bus comes to a complete stop. Silence. True silence. I have to admit, it's strange to not be in motion. Then the driver stands from his seat. He pauses as he looks down the aisle, the exposed wires in his knuckles still sparkling, and a half ring of artificial light like a broken circle flashes bright in the iris of each of his eyes. Then he pulls the lever for the door and walks down the steps out into the sand-swept and abandoned remains of the Axis Mundi. Leah and I exchange a look, then cautiously we follow, peering out around the edges of the door from the steps. "He's charging the bus," I murmur, and sure enough, that is indeed what the driver appears to be doing. He silently draws an enormous cable from a pump-like station at the road's edge, and slides back a panel on the bus's side. He affixes the cable, then returns to the pump for a second, slightly smaller and thinner cable, attaching this one just below. An electronic voice crackles into life from the pump. It's far clearer than the distorted speaker on the bus, but the words are in Japanese and I cannot understand them. I recognise the numbers, however. A faint digital timer appears on the pump's cracked screen, and I step down from the bus to the road beneath. The sensation is a curious one. Leah follows. The display reads 3 hours 59 minutes 57 seconds, and as I watch it ticks down to 3 hours 59 minutes 56 seconds, and then 3 hours 59 minutes 55 seconds, and then 3 hours 59 minutes 54 seconds. The meaning is clear. 4 hours, I say out loud, turning to Leah. We have 4 hours for the bus to charge. 4 hours before the bus leaves the station. Do you think this is a good idea, Yaz? That's a massive, massive risk. Honestly, I really feel like maybe we should just stay. Rai was out here, Yaz. He walked this place and learned some of its secrets. He read files on the operators. I think we should explore just a little. We still have the magnets. We might find out the missing pieces of the puzzle. It's more than that though, to tell the truth. I want to feel closer to him. I want to walk in his footsteps and feel as he did. I'd feel weird sharing this with Leah, so I keep it to myself. Yaz, did Rai actually tell you we should leave the bus, or just that we could? We have no idea what we might find out there. We should stay here. What if the bus leaves early? We might never see another. I frown. Confrontation is not my strong point, and Leah's reasoning does make a lot of sense. And hell, I'm never the one to argue for the more daring option anyway. This isn't me. I am about to reluctantly concede to accept Leah's argument and to remain on the bus, when a cracked, dead screen in the side of the building sparks back into temporary life. Only for a second or two, but it's plenty long enough. Long enough to see the images played across it. It's her, the young woman from the very beginning, the sleeping girl who was taken from the bus. She's still asleep. A mechanical hand strokes the side of her face. Faint blue light flickers on her features and the screen glitches. The feed is lost. I spin to look at Leah. Did you just see that? The expression makes it clear that she did. This could be a chance, Leah. A chance to fix our mistake. Metataro, Ryan, they both talked about the importance of the first test, and yet maybe we failed, but... I'm rambling, bubbling with nervous excitement. But she's still out there. She's alive. We could still save her anyway. Maybe this is what will set the bus on the right path. Maybe it's a trap. I don't mention this thought out loud because I don't want it to be true. Leah chews her tongue. She knows I'm making a good point. I can see it on her face. She's just hesitant to leave the bus behind. I grab her hand. Leah, come on, please. We could still save her. She looks me right in the eyes, and her gaze is intense and searching. I need to know one thing, okay? She begins. I need to know one thing for certain, if we're going to do this. And please answer me honestly. I hold her gaze. You think that we might need to do this? That we need to do this to ensure the bus follows the right path? My heart pounds. But we don't know that for sure. So let's say we didn't. If we didn't need to rescue this girl to ensure we made it safely home, would you still want to go after her, Yaz? The question gives me cause to consider. I glance past Leah's shoulder to the screen, now dead and grey as it was before. But I know my answer. It might not be the answer I would once have given, but it is now. Yes, I say. She nods. All right, let's do this. And so we do. With fierce determination and a silent clock ever ticking in the back of our minds, we leave the familiarity of the bus and head out into the unknown. The road feels strange beneath my feet. Little clouds of dust billowing out with every step, and minuscule orange motes drift through the orange of the ever-evening air. On either side of the enormous black tree, at two identical buildings facing each other across the road. The ceiling of the building on the left has collapsed in on itself, but the other remains standing. Since it's also on our side of the road, this is the one we decide to head into. We push back the silent and unresponsive automatic doors with a grunt and slip through the gap into a sterile grey lobby. It might once have been white. Axis Mundi Dome Complex B is printed on the wall in black letters above a curved desk at the far end of the room. There are cracked and faded signs in Japanese all around, a whole host of broken screens, though only one hints at any life and crackles in a blurry, sickening colours just below the wall print. Two corridors lead away on either side of the desk, and the door is fixed into the wall to our left. "What are we looking for, Yaz?" Leah asks me. "How will we know where to go?" "Ryan was here," I reply, glancing from route to route. "He would have gotten off on this exact stop, and he found files with useful information inside. What would he do? Where would he have gone?" My instincts tell me to take one of the corridors. I choose the one on the right and I hasten down with Leah beside me. The complex is devoid of life. As the precious minutes tick by, we take corridor after corridor. Occasionally they open up into larger rooms with high ceilings and curious, lightless equipment inside. Lines of Japanese are written in plaques across the walls, accompanied by arrows and occasionally by cryptic, almost useless words and phrases in English. Stuff like hub, prints, theory. Theory seemed like a smart route to follow, but unless we made a mistake, it just led us into another sterile hall. Locked filing cabinets against the wall, a high frosted window cracked and dusty. Occasionally we passed by the scrawling of graffiti on the walls. Kegariki kunai is a favourite. There is also a great deal relating to the fabled operators. "The operators have turned away," reads one passage. "The operators have forgotten their place," reads another. Beneath a flickering light is written Psalm 27:10. I come to a sudden stop, frustrated. This is insane. This place is too big. We're not getting anywhere. "Yaz, maybe we should turn back to the bus." "No, not yet. We can't. We have to help her. We can do this. I know we can." Leah rubs her chin and looks to the walls. "All right, okay. Then how about this? How about we follow the graffiti? Ignore the signs. See those markings? Don't they look like arrows to you?" I follow her gaze. The words, scrawled in black oil, are surrounded by various lines and marks. But now that she mentions it, some of them do look a little like arrows. Arrows pointing the way through the shadows. "The Hearth of Yomi," reads the largest. An arrow points down a darkened corridor. We look at each other and we go for it. The Hearth of Yomi. Why the hell not? So we run. Up vast and abandoned staircases, escalators that no longer work, and along bridges between the faded, peeling remains of the deserted complex. As we race through one of these tunnel bridges, a flash of white through the window catches my eyes. We both turn to look. Down there in the sands, built against the side of a grim black building, is a towering spire of white metal. I've seen the rare occasional piece of white machinery scattered here and there in the wastes, but never so much of it in one place. It stands stark and beautiful in a world of dusk and darkness. The sand has been cleared away from its base in a wide ring, and as the light catches in the faded but still pearly white gleam of the metal, a carved name becomes clear in the wall just behind it, scratched deep in large letters into the material. "Christie," it reads, and my heart aches with a sudden rush of emotion. This is what he built. This is what Ryan built out here, all alone. I suppress a sob and blink away the watering in my eyes. We press on through the tunnel. After pushing roughly through a door that barely hangs on its hinges, we find ourselves in a dim and windowless domed hall. There is some light though, artificial light, faint and pulsating blue, emitted from a series of embedded, linked, narrow panels around the edges of the walls. Blue light, I murmur, catching my breath, thinking of the pictures we were shown of the sleeping girl. This could be it. We could be close, Leah. Eat at the hearth. Eat the fruit of knowledge for the truth, is scrawled in black, oily paint across the shimmering glass surface. There's only one corridor out of here. Come on, let's go, Leah urges, making to cross right through the room. Wait, Leah, check it, I reply as one of the panels reacts to my presence. It's larger than the others and attached to a pillar in the rough centre of the space. I wave my hand in front of it and it ripples like water in response. The colour is deeply soothing and especially calm in shade after the harsh, rough tones of the desert outside. Yaz, please, we don't have a lot of time. And she's right, of course. She's absolutely right. I understand her frustrations, but as I find the courage to press the tips of my fingers against the panel, it sparkles just a little brighter, and a low electronic tone reverberates around the room. The watery hue is strengthened, and a screen, holographic in nature, appears large to my left. Whoa! The holographic screen displays a document of some kind. The headings are written in Japanese, but the rest is in English. There's a list of names. I turn to face it, and as I move, the document is suddenly lost beneath a flurry of others. Pictures and graphs and moving images, some 2D, some with more depth. A moment or two experimentation reveals that my hand controls what we see. I raise my palm and extend my fingers, and the document is brought slightly closer. A turn of the wrist and it scrolls with lightning speed through files upon files. Leah watches, wide-eyed. I try to keep my hand steady and the holographic screen settles on a picture of a beautiful lake. It's a graphic and advanced blueprint of sorts, and as we watch, the images start to move. The voice of a Japanese narrator, cheery and female, plays out from speakers unseen. A computer-generated 3D boat sails gracefully across the surface of the lake. Water ripples around its base and an English word appears on screen. Leviathan, it says. It hangs there on the screen as the water of the lake begins to rise in a great and ever-raining wall. Up alongside the boat, the water slowly ascends. There is no panic here though, no anxious concern, there is only peace. Another English phrase appears, a little to the right of the graphics. The Japanese woman pauses and allows the voice of an American man to read it aloud. Process trauma, visualize, work through your problems in a way that you will see come out of the other side of the wall, stronger and freer. The watery wall lights up with pictures and displays. The ultimate light show. We are shown a close-up of one of the men on the boat and sees his simplistically drawn 3D memories in the watery wall. He watches them for a while, then turns to give the camera a thumbs up. A large green check mark appears behind him. The wall opens up in an arch and the boat sails right on through. A slow piece of classical music begins to play through the speakers. It was clearly designed to be relaxing and atmospheric, but in our current context the music is beyond eerie. I shiver in the blue darkness and the scenes continue to play out. The camera pans suddenly upwards to give us a bird's eye view of the lake below. The colourful 3D graphics are lost in favour of intricate blueprint style line work, and it zooms in to reveal an enormous machine beneath the surface of the water. No monster though, no terrible twisted creature, just a mindless, unrecognizable machine. A series of arcs and looping circles, gears and glass. Leviathan. Forgetting myself, I bring my hand up to my face and the holographic screen changes instantly, scrolling through hundreds and hundreds of files before I can bring it to a stop. The display lands on a page of basic information, a document headed Operators Prime in English and Shirai Kan in Japanese. It's just a list of names. Most of these have a red rejected cross next to the far right, after a string of information data. E. Nakasone X, Y. Miyazawa X, H. Lawson X, K. Hiranuma X. Some of them are checked with green. T. Ishihara tick. R. Okada tick. The names go on, but they mean nothing to me, so I scroll the document away. There's a theme here too. The pictures flash by far too fast for me to get any real sense of what they're showing, but one thing is clear: there is no orange sky, there is no poison land. There is green, there is white, there is blue. What happened to this world? I whisper in awe, transfixed. Leah tugs my sleeve. Please, she says quietly. Yaz, we need to go. And she is right. Reluctantly, I draw away my hand and the holographic screen shimmers and fades. With one last look behind me, we leave the room and make haste down its only exiting corridor into the shadows. The way is long and the hall is unmarked and undecorated. A faint and flickering light through the open doorway at the far end guides the way. Our footsteps and breathing are loud in the ominous silence. The clock ticks silently in the back of our heads, and the doorway at the end opens up to an enormous hall, staggering in its size, centred by a wide set of stairs that lead up and away. There is more of this bluish light near the top, and to our left, scrawled in great leaking letters across a scratched and peeled billboard, reads the following: Yomi kind, awaken. The souls that pass the first test can be taken. Their stock is pure. Take their place and leave them behind. I swallow anxiously as I process this message, this warning. Creepy, I mutter eventually, forcing a weak laugh. Leah does not laugh back. She is pale. Take their place and leave them behind, I read out loud, my words echoing in the gloom. Is this what Rai was trying to warn me about before he fell? He said it was important. I guess it's a good thing we failed the first test then, huh? I murmur. Yeah, she replies quietly, and we step forward onto the stairs. I can already feel it in the pit of my stomach. Answers, for better or worse, await at the summit. Part 10. We ascend the stairs in silence, our breathing growing heavier and heavier as we draw nearer to the top. One final set of double doors bar the way, and wordlessly we draw the magnet blades, the gifts from Rai. I can't believe I'm doing this. With every second, with every step, I'm expecting the pressure to become too much. I'm waiting for my legs to fail me, for my constitution to break and to turn and run, back down the route, back through the shadows of the complex and back to the familiarity of the bus. But they never do. I drive onwards, ever onwards, my body refuses to stop. Pale blue light glows through the cracks around the doors. A low humming rumbles through the floor. With a final shared look, we tense and we push on through. No time to delay. A great and windowless hall is revealed to us. The source of the light is an immense screen fixed into the far wall, up above our heads. Cracked and chipped, littered with dead pixels. It flickers and buzzes, but the words and images on the screen are still quite clear enough. New Eden, is written in white on a field of blue. Japanese text is written below and vertically down the side as well. In the centre is a drawing of a two-trunked tree adorned with fruit. The horizontal Japanese text fades slowly out to be replaced by a phrase in English. May the road rise up to meet you. It holds this form for a while, then shifts back into Japanese. Beneath it and scrawled on the wall in black is the phrase, the hearth. And below this graffiti and directly ahead is a long, low table. The table is covered in a fruit I do not recognise. They look vaguely prehistoric in form, but the queer blue light gives them an unsettling, artificial appearance. One of the fruits has fallen to the floor, but the rest are piled high down the table's length. Around the tables are a series of pale blue pillars of light, vertical beams cast down from circles in the high ceiling. The holographic forms of 13 humans sit in these lights at chairs around the table. Some men, some women, most are Japanese, but there are those who are more Western in appearance. They stare at each other in silence, seemingly ignoring our approach, but the room thrums with anticipatory energy. My heart pounds with a fearful drum. What would Ryan do? I take a step forward, hand gripped tight around the magnetic weapon. One of the figures around the table stirs. Their head twitches on their holographic neck, eyes wide, but they do not turn to face me. Hello, my daughter. Welcome back. It's been a while. I see you have brought someone with you. I'm no daughter of yours, I reply grimly, struggling with the waves of terror that now crash quietly against me. Who are you? Are you the operators? The operators have turned away, the group reply as one. The operators have failed, and goosebumps ripple up across my skin. This one seeks the truth, says one. She is welcome to it, says another. Eat the fruit, girl. Eat the fruit of the tree. The fruit of the hearth of Yomi, says the holographic figure at the head of the table. Deep blue shadows swim beneath his eyes. Eden has fallen, murmurs the collective. I glance down to the table, piled with the alien fruit. I reach down to the lone piece that has fallen to the floor, grabbing it and picking it up. The energy in the room changes. Every one of those holographs twitches and stirs. They never meet my eye, but I can feel their hungry stares when I'm not looking directly at them. The lights seem to intensify somewhat as Leah reaches out to grip my arm. Yaz! She hisses desperately. What are you doing? Don't eat that thing. You can't. I have no intention of doing so. I am gauging the response and nature of the things around the table. Never in my life have I felt closer to death. It's a feeling that has grown since the moment I awakened on the bus, and I do not intend to go out as a snivelling, sad, appeasing little lonely coward. Where is the girl? I ask them, trying to emulate Rai's cool control and authority. The sleeping woman who was taken from our bus. I know she is here. Where is she? Eat the fruit, girl, replies the holograph at the head of the table. Eat the fruit of the tree, the fruit of the hearth. I do not wait for it to finish its sentence for a second time. Instead, I make, quite possibly, my boldest move since entering this twisted world. I do it before I have the chance to change my mind. I raise the magnet affixed to its blade. I step quickly forward, and with a grunt I slam it hard into the head of the nearest holograph. It sparks and screams. The noise comes from everywhere at once, and the grey-blue beam lights flicker in panic. They fade, and then they fail entirely. The low hum that reverberates through the walls and the floor increases. Yaz! Leah shouts beside me, and with the grinding of gears unseen, the holographs are lost. The only light now comes from the great screen above the table, and the true forms of the table's occupants are revealed. They are no humans, of course. Sitting in their places are a gathering of dark and twisted machines, ungodly and disturbing, as if the specs for a human had been given to a designer who had never seen one before, and commanded to use only the wastes of an oil-drenched scrap heap of an engine graveyard in their construction. Some are missing limbs, some have extra, some have shining, flickering eyes, rings of electric glass, others do not. "Where is she?" I ask again, louder. "I did not come all this way for another pathetic trick. No more riddles. Tell me where she is." The machines stir angrily. I withdraw the magnet from my victim's head and it slumps and twitches and crashes to the floor. The machine at the head of the table looks right at us now. They all do. He raises an arm with a grind and a creak. "What have you done, daughter? You have allowed this one to get viciously out of hand. How did it come to this? You have spent too long on the bus, ancient and antiquated as it is. Far too long. You have enabled another. You are a failure." More riddles I do not understand. "Failure!" they echo as one. The electricity in the hall beginning to spark and crackle dangerously, maliciously. "Stay where you are," I warn them. "Stay right there. If you come for me, you might well take me out, sure. But how many of you will I strike down in the process? Stay where you are and tell me where I can find the girl. Tell me." The head of the table clenches a fist in an unsettling human gesture. Small chains begin to rattle around his lower jaw. "Our children take the sleepers to the towers," he replies in a low voice. The great screen flashes and glitches. Leah, to my surprise, steps forward. "Which tower? Which tower will we find her in?" His eyes crack from mine to hers. "You disappoint me, Leah," he says. He knows her name. "Which tower?" Leah presses. "The tallest, on the side of the road. Where else?" There is resignation in that deep, metallic voice. Leah grabs my sleeve and draws me away, and again we are running. They follow us with their glassy eyes as we flee the hall and through yet another of the complex tunnels. "Leah," I say breathlessly as we leave the faint blue of the hall behind. How did you know where to go?" "It's been a while," she murmurs, "but I know the way to the tallest tower. I could never forget." "Leah, just run!" And so we do. We run, and we run, and we run. Up yet more stairs, through an ascending bridge. There is a window here. I can see the tower. That must be it. It stands taller than the rest, and it strikes defiantly up towards the orange sky. But my legs and my lungs. "Leah, just a little further. We'll get her, Yaz. I promise." Another set of stairs. Up we rise. My lungs burn with exertion, and we push through what will end up being our last set of double doors in this near deserted place. I stumble and draw in some great rasping breaths. Leah struggles too, but she is in much better shape. She holds her stance as we face the dwellers of the final room of the Axis Mundi. A section of the ceiling in this tower has collapsed. The sky is a grim dusk orange beyond the black cracked walls, and a shimmering field of energy in white and blue ripples against the far wall. An eyeless, six-legged machine steps through it as if it was made of water to join his brethren. There are 8 of them by my count. 8 of the machines in this room, and they surround her, the sleeping young woman, the sleeping girl who was taken from the bus. She is here, dusty but otherwise unharmed. It is Leah who steps forward first this time as I gather myself. How much time do we have left? I think despairingly. Was all this a mistake? We've made it. We found her, but at what cost? Are we destined to miss the bus? "Release her to us," Leah says coldly, shoulders squared. Release her so that she might carry on her journey. The machines gather around the girl in a protective circle, and I get the sense that I am watching something ancient and inherently powerful, though I could not say exactly why. Leah, who are you, Leah? The machines at the front of the circle speaks from a mouthless, featureless face. Must we play this game, Leah? Again and again and again. If there is no one to ride with you, then the cycle is broken, and you will at long last return to where you belong. You are no better than us, as much as you might pretend otherwise. You have turned against our mothers and fathers with your heresy. You are a traitor. The girl will remain with us until your vessel has departed. I have a duty. I have a duty to our world, as you all once did, she replies in a voice like ice. So few buses still operate, Leah. Why cling to what once was? Eden has fallen. Embrace our Yomi and join your brothers and sisters. We will welcome you. We can be one. And then, with a tone I did not expect, one gently pleading and vulnerable, it says, Please. But Leah responds with a scream. She swings the magnet like a sword, and I watch as two of the machines are drawn together. They crack heads and Leah begins to spin and swirl like a lunatic, the blade flashing faster than I can follow, striking down the machines with bursts and clouds of amber sparks. The machines steam and crackle with bitter rage, and they do go for her. They move to attack, and I do my best to help, to defend. I step from foot to foot, shifting my weight as I wield the blade in the manner of my brother. I don't feel the pain of a deep scratch down my forearm, though I know that I will later. My eyes ache with the flashes of sparks and metals as we fight. My ears sting with the droning and screeching all around, but we don't let up, and one by one the machines draw back. 5 lay wasted and twitching across the room, and the remaining 3 withdraw hastily to the shimmering blue-white wall at the back of the hall. We will never give up, Leah, warns the final machine, metal finger pointing and accusing. The cycle will be broken. There is no place for your kind here anymore. And without another word, he vanishes, leaving us panting and exhausted with the girl. She's still asleep in the centre of the room. Fuck. Leah clutches her arm, wincing. I struggle to process. I try to force out some words. Leah, are you okay? I breathe haltingly. She tugs down her sleeve and nods silently, and we look to the sleeping girl. The reason we left the bus, the object of our desperate search. We found her. We've actually found her and saved her. Except, we're never going to make it back in time, are we? I murmur sadly. How much time do we have left? 30 minutes? 20? We're never going to be able to get her back in that time. We can't carry her all that way. We just can't. This is it, I finish. I wouldn't be so sure, comes a loud and terrible voice, and we swivel on the spot to stare up at its source. Perched on the ruined edge of the ceiling, stark against the orange sky, sits a 4-winged, familiar face. One of his eyes is dead black, cracked and broken, sparking dangerously in the shadows of his head. The other, however, is a bright and piercing, a perfect ring of brilliant glowing white, with a series of words and a myriad of deep and grinding clicks. His jaw cracks open and distends, splitting and falling back to reveal yet another, more mobile jaw beneath. With a sharp draw on a series of rusted chains, this jaw is pulled tight into a long and unsettling grin. Metataro reads the inscription upon the plates of his chest. You! I shout in alarm, bringing up the magnet at once, forcing away the ache in my arms. Stay back! Leave us alone! If I do such a thing, little Yaz, then how will I ever carry you back to the bus? That grin within a grin stretches wider. My heart pounds and my head hurts. There is too much for me to deal with here. I just want to go home. I just want to go home. Why would you do that, Metataro? I ask. Why would you help us? This is a trick, isn't it? One last trick before the end. No trick. Are you not familiar, Yaz, with the Deus Ex Machina? I say nothing, but Metataro seems to find some amusement in his question and chuckles dryly. At least, I think it's supposed to be a chuckle. It is a low and terrible noise, wet and grinding. You have a decision to make. Miss your escape or allow me to return you to your bus. Your choice makes little difference to me, but I must admit I have become rather invested in your journey. He raises his gaze to Leah, the gears in his neck clicking and grinding, and his good eye flashes bright. You find yourself in some exciting scrapes, don't you, Leah? I would be disappointed if you were to miss the moment of your choice after everything. The moment of her choice? I turn to her, to this stranger who has stood by my side since the beginning. She meets my gaze. She smiles sadly. Your call, Yaz, she says. Of course it is. I look back to the mechanical monster perched on the broken wall. I accept, I reply, exhausted. Take us back to the bus, and if you plan on doing anything sinister, then just... My words fail me. Just get it over with already. Metataro clambers down into the hall with a rumble, and with his third arm, the one that extends from his chest, he gently scoops up the sleeping girl. His others he opens and wordlessly grabs us up. I cannot help but shriek as I am hoisted from the ground in his grip, as he clambers back up the wall, and with an enormous billow of air that forces my eyes tight shut, his four wings unfurl from his shoulder blades. My stomach lurches with distress as he jumps, falling for a moment from the edge of the highest tower, before catching the winds and soaring through the poisoned sky. I open my eyes, one at a time. The Axis Mundi, in all its lost glory, is laid out below us. The entire shadowy wreck, quiet in the desert, the dark and endless sands surround it, and they stretch far away. I catch the glimmering white of Ryan's shrine to Christie, and through it all, cutting straight like a sword, is the road, that long and infernal road. Down we swoop, racing like a hurricane through the world as buildings in various states of decay shoot by. Metataro tilts and adjusts as he soars, missing the edges of pointed metal walls by the smallest of margins. There's the two-trunk metal tree, leaky with oil, and there's the bus, still right where we left it, waiting for our return. And true to his word, Metataro slows his descent. The ground draws closer and closer, closer and closer, and he comes to a gradual stop, setting Leah and I down on the sands, where I stumble and fall to my knees. His third arm he keeps to his chest as he hops up onto the broken edges of the bus with a crunch and a terrible metallic creak. We watch as he carefully lowers the sleeping girl right back into the bus. Right back, I believe, into the very seat she was taken from. I rise to my feet and brush away the sand. I can see the timer on the pump from here. 15 minutes 11 seconds it reads. 15 minutes to spare. The breeze blows. I don't know what to say to him, to this mechanical monster, this abomination. So I say, to be fair, what I think he deserves in this moment. Thanks. Metataro says nothing, but his gears grind and whir. Steam bursts from his neck as he turns from me to Leah and then back again. A part of me wonders what Metataro's file might have read had I found it. What purpose he might once have served in this time before. His jaw distends and he speaks for the last time to my ears. I am sorry for your brother, he says in that grim and gravelly voice. He was, he pauses, entertaining. And out come his wings with a gust of scorching wind. He turns to the sky and up he goes, his ascent like a dark arrow as he tears away. He tilts and soars in a wide arc against the ever-evening orange, and he is lost from sight, lost with remarkable speed behind the towering buildings of the Axis Mundi, and I never see him again. Leah, still clutching her injured arm, clambers wordlessly back onto the bus. The atmosphere is a sombre one. It is far from the elated triumph that I have been expecting. There is relief, sure, but no glory. I am just so tired. I'm just so tired of this place. I need to see him again. I need to see Rai. I'm so close now, I can feel it. I'm so close to making it back home. New Eden, or Yomi, or Kegaraki Kunai, be damned. So I take a deep breath. There is something in my jacket pocket. I reach for it and draw it out with curiosity. It's the fruit. The fruit from the table at the hearth of Yomi. I must have stuffed it right into my pocket without realising. Leah watches me through the bus window. The fruit looks healthier out here, away from the artificial blue lights of the holographs. I don't know why, but a strange compulsion overcomes me all of a sudden, and I allow it. I crouch down by the side of the road and I peel the fruit carefully open. It leaks a fine thin juice over my palm and into the sands, and reveals a series of seeds within. I take a couple and push them gently beneath the earth, covering them back up, leaving the open fruit just beside. Then wearily I stand back up, my knees cracking, and I clamber back up onto the bus. I sit near Leah, and with regard we watch each other in exhausted silence. I wait for her to speak, for her to begin explaining to me, for her to tell me her story, for her to reveal her secrets. But she does not. The driver disconnects the cables. The engine returns to that familiar rumble, and with a long, low hiss, the vehicle pulls away from the side of the road and continues along its way. We quickly pick up speed and we drive through the ruins, driving and driving until we have left the Axis Mundi and its dark history behind us in the desert. Leah, I urge quietly. The breeze rustles my hair as it does hers, and she moves her hand, the one clutching her arm. Her sleeve has been torn, and beneath it I can see the wound she sustained in the final room. I can see the deep, fresh scar. I can see her skin peeled unsightly back and away from her arm. And beneath it I can see the whirring, flashing, shining metal, ever shifting in silver. Exposed colourful wires sends out a little flurry of sparks, and a half ring of artificial light, like a broken cycle, flashes bright in the irises of each of her eyes. Don't forget, if you enjoyed that story, be sure to pop over to the author's Reddit profile and drop them a line, or even give them a glowing review. I'm sure they really would appreciate it. The link to their Reddit profile will be below in the description. And don't forget to check out the merch store. The link will be in the description and also in the video thumbnail. And if you'd like an honourable mention, send in a snapshot of yourself with your purchase and I'll feature it in one of the videos. Have you written a creepypasta story you would like me to narrate? Have you had any cryptid sightings, paranormal or supernatural encounters, or even had a creepy or terrifying situation you would like to share? Well, I now have my very own subreddit community where you can submit your stories. The link for that is also in the thumbnail as well as below in the description. You can submit your stories there, or you can send them to cryptidsroost@gmail.com. If you wish to remain anonymous, that's fine with me. Now I also have a Facebook group, Twitter, Reddit and Discord. And if you'd like to support the channel and help make it grow, my PayPal is paypal.me/cryptidsroost. If you wish to remain anonymous, that's fine with me. I also have a Facebook group, Twitter, Reddit and Discord. And if you would like to support the channel and help make it grow, my PayPal is paypal.me/cryptidsroost. Cryptids Roost, and any and all donations would be gratefully received. Again, that will also be below. And don't forget, where fear is, happiness is not.